I have a simple website set up here. There's a section and an image, and when we look at it in our browser, it just looks like this. So I've just sort of made it really tall so that we have somewhere to scroll. And what I want to happen is that as we're scrolling, I want the sun to rotate. So as we scroll down, I want it to rotate and rotate and rotate, so it's kind of moving while scrolling. But when we're still, it doesn't move. So what we can do is we want to apply a transformation, a transform rotate, to this image as we rotate down the page. So let's go into our JavaScript here, and I'm going to make a variable for the sun. So $sun equals .sun. And I'm actually going to make another one for window. Now the window is a special thing in jQuery and JavaScript that gives us information about the window of the browser itself. And specifically, this time we're interested in the scroll position. Now the window also has a whole bunch of events. So we can actually do window.onScroll like this, and it will fire an event whenever the browser window is scrolled. So let's just do a console.log like this, so we can see it working. So scrolling. So as I scroll now, you can see it keeps firing the scrolling event over here. So that event is firing every time the window is scrolled. Now we can get a little bit of information. So let's say we want to know how far down we have scrolled in the window. We can get that from $win.scrollTop. That will tell us how many pixels down from the top of the page we've scrolled. So there you go. You can see as we scroll, the numbers increase and decrease. So now that we have a number, scroll top, we can use that as a rotation for the sun. So let's put it into a variable. Let's just call it top. All right. Now what we want to do is we want to target sun and do some CSS to it. So we'll go transform. And the way we want to transform is we want to do rotate like that. The important thing is that in between the brackets here, we want this to be dynamic. So we actually need JavaScript to fill this information in for us. We can't just apply a class to this element like we've been doing most of our JavaScript CSS manipulation. We can't do that because this number here needs to be dynamic. So this CSS needs to be changed over time. So in here, all we need to do is just put our top variable like that. Now don't forget that when you do rotations, you need to put degrees here as the unit. So together this will add up to be what CSS is expecting. So now when I rotate, you'll see that the sun spins. Now it spins really, really quickly as I'm scrolling, so maybe I want to slow it down. All I need to do is just make that number a little bit smaller, so I could just divide this by 3, say. So now when I'm scrolling, you can see the sun rotates a little bit more slowly. So we've used the window and we've determined how far down we've scrolled from the top of the page, and we're taking that number and just applying that as a rotation to our sun to make it so that as the window scrolls, the sun rotates. So I've got a piece of text here and I want to animate it when you click a button in JavaScript. Before I get to the animation, I need to set up my SVG properly. I've gone ahead and fixed up my artboard here. You can see it's nicely set up. But this is some text, and so I can get Illustrator automatically convert it to outlines for me, but it will do one big outline. So I want to do the convert to outlines myself here, and then I'm going to ungroup it and group it the way that I want. So I want to have the I and the exclamation group together like all this, and it would be a good idea to give them all IDs. So let's call this one exclaim. This one, letter O, letter N, letter I, and letter D. So that gives us some IDs in the SVG that we create. So here's my Illustrator file set up nicely the way that I want. So I'm just going to go to save a copy and get the code out like this. And I'm going to go to the compression utility here, paste it in, and just simplify it a little bit here. Fix all these things. Oh, the precision of 1 did a pretty ugly mess on that. How's 2 look? Okay, let's keep it at 2. Let's do the rest of these things here. All right, so there's my nice optimized SVG. And if we go look in here, we have everything grouped together. Each of them has their own ID, which is nice. So we'll go and download this, and it's ready to go and be used with JavaScript. So I'll open up this SVG in here, and I'm going to copy this stuff so I can embed it in my HTML right here, like that. So I've gone ahead and set up my HTML just a little bit. I have a div right here. I've got the class of Word on it, and I've got a button right here that I want to be able to click on. Let's go in my browser and preview this. There we go. So here's the class of Word. Let's style it a little bit to make it a little smaller. Width of 20 rem, I suppose. All right, so I want to trigger an animation when you click on the button. First of all, I need the animation. So right here I have paths, letter D, I, N, etc., and exclamation mark. So I'm going to start by creating my animation. Let's go at keyframes. Let's call it Bigify, if I can spell that. That's what my animation is going to be. So at 0%, I'll go transform scale of 1, and then at 100%, transform scale of 1.5, I suppose. So let's target letter D and do our animation here so we can make sure it works. I have a typo. Oh, there we go. I cannot type. Let's go with 250 milliseconds, I guess. And we want to tap in 2 times and alternate like that. So let's just go and make sure we test this in Firefox so it works. All right, so that was our animation. Hopefully you saw that happen. Oops, I opened Safari. So that happened really quickly. I don't think 1.5 is way too much. Let's try again. All right, let's go even smaller, 1.1. There. So there's our little animation. And what I want to do is when you click trigger, I want to do that to all the letters. So I'm going to copy this here and paste it. So change this to letter I. And now I want the same animation to be applied to all of them. So you can see their path elements here, but they also have this class of st0 that came from Illustrator. That's way at the end. So I could use that to style them. So let's go with .st0 and let's put the animation on there like that. And I'll delete it from these. Let's go check Firefox. All right, now I want them to happen at different times. So letter D doesn't really need anything, but letter I needs an animation delay of, let's go 250 milliseconds like that. Let's see how this works now. All right, and we'll just keep doing this for the rest of them. So N would have a 500 millisecond delay. O, that would be 750. Oh, and the last one would be exclaim. Would have a 1 second delay. All right, let's go try that out. All right, there's our little animation. Now I want that animation to be triggered by JavaScript, not by automatic. So right here you can see that the animation is being applied to st0 immediately, but we only want it to happen when we click on the JavaScript. I've gone ahead and included jQuery here, but I haven't actually created my JS file, so I create that now. Trigger SVG. All right. Now the technique to make the SVG animate is no different than any other element that we have. So we have our class here, btn trigger, and we have our class of word. So we're going to want to get access to those. Btn trigger. All right. And we'll do $btn trigger dot on, click. And we want to target word, and we want to add a class to it, JS animate, like that. So let's just double check that that's working when we click the class. So there's our div, or click the button. So you can see here our class is getting added. All right, so now it gets the class of JS animate. So all we need to do is change this to JS animate space st0. So it will only get the animation when it has the class of JS animate. We'll go refresh. So it doesn't do it right away, but we click the button here and it triggers my animation. Now, if I click it again, we have that same issue we looked at before with the animation end event. So we could do that. We'd want to target word and listen for animation end and remove the class from it like this. So now when the animation completes, our thing may work. Nope. Okay, because it's not the word that's actually the animation's triggering on. It's actually on the st0s. So we need to use event delegation in here, like that. Now that doesn't work either because it's ending the animation after the first one fires. So then we'd have to count how many there are and wait for the last one. So we could do that. We go var count equals 0. So how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if count is greater than or equal to 4, then we want to trigger the animation off like that. And we'll go count plus plus. Now that should maybe work. Nope. Oh, helps if you press the button. All right, there we go. Oh, and then at the end, of course, we need to set this back to 0. Okay, here we go. It's going to work this time. I'll click it again. There we go. So what we've done is we've used our SVG knowledge and our JavaScript knowledge in order to create this animation that when you click on this, it triggers some sort of animation on the text that is actually an SVG graphic. And I've just played around with the animation event here, animation end event, so that we could trigger the button